We will be looking at the Warlock Subclasses today, and the Warlock Subclasses are the Fiend, the Great Old One, and the Archfey. I will be taking into account the differences between the subclasses, and so the differences they get are at levels 1, 6, and 10. I will not be looking at the Eldritch Invocations or the Pacts. This is just for the subclasses, following on from the rest of the classes that I've been going through. I will also be taking multi-classing into account. Bear in mind, these subclasses are just being compared to each other and not other classes or the subclasses of other classes. And of course, as I'm always trying to say, this is just my casual opinion. I don't know what you find fun and interesting, and what I might find interesting you might not. I will also be taking into account the expanded spell list, because each subclass does get a choice of extra spells, but not extra spells known. So starting in third place, I've put the Archfey. So for its level 1 features a 5 out of 10, the level 6 features an 8, level 10 features a 4 out of 10. The expanded spell list is 6 out of 10 and multi-classing potential a 3 out of 10. I have Gale here modelling the Archfey Warlock for us. At level 1, we get this action, Fey Presence. Charm or frighten nearby foes with the Feywild's beguiling, disturbing magics. So what does this do? We can either try and charm all nearby enemies, or we can try and frighten them. I'm going to get into a slightly different position. So the annoying thing is about this level 1 ability is we only get to choose one of the two every short rest. I don't mind too much that it replenishes on a short rest. Warlocks are a short rest class anyway. Something I found while testing this out is charming enemies just isn't that good. Out of the two choices, frightened really is the way to go. So charmed enemies can't attack the spellcaster, and that's it. It protects the spellcaster but nobody else. Whereas frightened, I'm hoping that this works on a few of them. All of them. They can't move, and they also have disadvantage on their ability checks and attack rolls. As long as I move out of range, these three won't be able to attack with their melee attacks. They can still throw items, throw weapons. So even though they're frightened, they can still throw weapons, like I said. But yeah, the charm just isn't useful. And also while I was testing this, I had Gale charm the enemies. One of my other party members hit them and they lost charmed anyway. I really don't value charmed as an option. Frightened is good though, but the downsides are it takes your action, which is fair enough actually. It's quite a strong ability in one sense. But the main downside is the short range. And in the earlier levels, you're probably going to be quite squishy. You're not going to be able to survive so well. And your spells have DC is low. But as we get to high levels, it's a nice alternative to have. At level 6, we get Misty Escape, so when Gale hopefully eventually takes damage, I can turn him invisible, and he'll be able to Misty Step next turn. So there we are, he got hit. We can use Misty Escape. Turns invisible. Alright, so now it's Gale's turn. We get this extra Misty Step. Bear in mind it appears on the right in a new sort of section. So make sure you're using this Misty Step, not the spell Misty Step or from an item. And then he gets to go wherever he wants. I could stick him up here. Put him into safety. He's now visible again, and he can do whatever he wishes. Now this is good as a very defensive ability, but also grants you mobility within the battlefield as well. Obviously you don't want to be hit, but in the event that you are, this is really good, I think. I do like this, and it's quite unique. I really can't think of another subclass in the whole game, in fact, that gets something quite like this. Then at level 10, Archfey Warlocks get beguiling defenses. You've built stoic barriers in your heart and mind and cannot be charmed. I honestly don't remember how many times I've been charmed in the game because it's so few. And the chances of your Archfey Warlock being charmed as well isn't that high. Plus, even if you're charmed, all it means is you can't attack the person who charmed you. There are going to be other targets in the battlefield. I really don't rate this highly whatsoever when you compare it to the other level 10 abilities that other Warlocks get. This is just, it's pitiful. It fits the theme of the Archfey. It's great in that terms, but in terms of actual gameplay, I'd really rather have something else. For their expanded spell list, we've got Fairy Fire and Sleep. These are decent at the level you get them. Sleep does upcast, and this is something we need to think about when we think about spells that Warlocks get, is they're automatically cast at the highest possible level. So these are okay, nice support spells to have at the beginning of the game. Calm Emotions is useful in a few different situations, but I wouldn't want to pick this as a spell known for a Warlock, because they've only got a limited number of spells. Phantasmal Force can, I don't know, go kick rocks. It sucks so badly. Blink's okay, but if you're concentrating, when you blink, you lose concentration, so I don't generally like it on spellcasters that much. Plant Growth is good. You can put that to use. Dominate Beasts, I don't like this at all. Again, I'd rather have one of the Warlock spells than this. Greater Invisibility, if you've got someone in your party who's going to be good at using this is great. Otherwise, I would skip it. Dominate Person, this is fine. This can have its uses. Seeming, again, for a Warlock, I'd rather not have Seeming. I'd probably want it on a Wizard. Not that everyone has a Wizard in their party. Compared to the other spells that Warlocks get, I probably wouldn't pick Seeming. So I mean, some of these spells are okay, but lots of these don't jump out at me anyway. And then for multi-classing, well, as I've had in other subclass videos, the best multi-classes are the ones that have strong abilities at level 1. And this just doesn't go well with very many other things. Charm and Frightened. I mean, Frightened, yeah, is a good ability to have, but not many other classes or subclasses can build upon that. So why would I pick an Archfey Warlock? The level 1 spells here aren't that special. The level 3 spells especially are not special or not good. I certainly don't care about having the level 10 feature. So if the multi-classing for Archfey Warlocks just doesn't jump out to me, I'm going to pick one of the other 2 subclasses. Okay, then in the second place I've got the Great Old One Warlock. So the level 1 feature is 6 out of 10. The level 6 feature of 4, the level 10 feature is 6 out of 10. The expanded spell list is 7 and multi-classing potential an 8. At level 1, we get a passive called Mortal Reminder. When you land a critical hit against a creature, that creature and any nearby creatures must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw or become frightened. Another Warlock subclass with the Frightened ability going on. So the problem here, or potential problem, is getting a critical hit. If you don't build for this, this is not a very useful feature. It doesn't come up, well, it comes up 5% of the time, and they still get a Wisdom saving throw against it. Obviously, if you're attacking with advantage, it comes up more often. I've made my Warlock here. I've given them a few items that decreases the number needed to roll a critical hit, plus the risky ring to give myself advantage. And also I'm in Act 3 now, so I've got some gloves that if I charm or frighten a creature, I get a bonus to attack rolls and saving throws. Right, let's see if I can frighten somebody. I'm going to attack 3 different people. No, so I had quite a good chance of getting at least 1 critical hit there. And it still didn't work. For me, this is the downside of this ability. Right, let's try again. I'm sure I've got some potions of speed. There we are. Saved against the Mortal Reminder. I mean, the spell save DC for this character is 18. That's okay. It just happens that this person is particularly good at Wisdom saving throws. I'm slightly ambivalent about this, even though I've got a partial build towards this. What's my critical hit chance? It's normally 20, 19, 18... Taking the Elixir of Viciousness, so it's down to 17, and none of the others reduce the critical hit chance. So I'm rolling with advantage, which gives me 2 times each time I attack. I'm attacking 3 times with 3 different beams. So I'm rolling dice 6 times there, and it only rolled a 17 or above on 1, maybe 2 of them, I suppose, because it could have been 17 and 20 against Gauntlet's Edwina. And as I've shown earlier, frightening enemies doesn't take them out completely, but it is a strong debuff, so I can appreciate when it happens. It's a good thing. It's something I do want to have. At level 6, Great Old One Warlocks also get a defensive ability. Impose disadvantage on an attack roll against you. If it misses, you gain advantage on your next attack roll against the attacker for 1 turn. Yeah, I don't particularly care about this that much either. Especially since I've got the risky ring here. I mean, your Warlock wouldn't necessarily have the risky ring. But that means the second part just is completely pointless. It doesn't help because I've already got advantage. So I can impose disadvantage on a single attack roll. Okay, so I'm going to let them have opportunity attacks against me to try and show this. If they miss... Oh, my armor class might be a bit too high. I'm actually going to take that off. So here we are. I can impose disadvantage on the attack roll. They're all 27 actually. They got plus 10 bonus to hit. And since the attack didn't miss, I don't even gain the bonus of having an advantage. And I've got to take a short rest before I can use it again. Yeah, I don't like this very much. The fact it only happens once per short rest is pretty awful at the end of the day. It's not a very useful level 6 ability. Then at level 10, we get another defensive feature, Psychic Reflection. When you take psychic damage, the attacker takes the same damage and you get resistance to psychic damage. We don't receive psychic damage that frequently. Obviously, it's nice to have when you do, and the reflection is kind of nice, but by the time we get to level 10, there just aren't that many fights where this comes in useful. I don't like it that much. It's nice to have a resistance to a damage, but it's not a damage type that we commonly receive. So again, compared to what will be the Fiend in first place, I don't value this particularly highly. Anyway, then their expanded spell list. So Dissonant Whispers and Tasha's Hideous Laughter at level 1. Dissonant Whispers is okay because it actually can be upcast. So you do a bit of extra damage, and it's only available to bards otherwise. It's quite a rare spell in the game as things go. Tasha's Hideous Laughter is a decent enough spell. Tech Thoughts, if you want to have it, it's okay. It's a ritual, doesn't take a spell slot. Again, I've already talked about Phantasmal Force, it's just not good. Bestow Curse, I probably wouldn't take this on a Warlock. If I really want it, I could also use an Invocation for it anyway. Slow is okay. It's a concentration spell, sadly, as lots of these are. I've already talked about Dominate Beast, don't care about it that much. Evard's Black Tentacles, it's fine. It's an okay choice. Unfortunately, it doesn't benefit from being upcast. Dominate Person, we've already had that already. That's okay. Telekinesis, I kind of like having this as an option. But the problem with the expanded spell list is this means we're not getting another spell. As I mentioned earlier, these aren't extra spells known like some other spellcasting classes. This is just a choice you get to choose from. And lastly, multiclassing. You can potentially make a good build around Mortal Reminder. If you go into multiclass as a Great Old One, this is probably what you're going to be doing. One kind of half obvious multiclass is the Champion, because they get a reduction in the number needed for a critical hit. But like with the Archfey Warlock, the level 1 spells, they're okay, but I wouldn't multiclass just for them. So for the Great Old One, to really make it worth it, I feel like you do have to build around the level 1 ability, because the level 6 and level 10 abilities, they're not that special. And that leaves the Fiend to be in first place. I don't think this was much of a surprise. So the level 1 features an 8 out of 10, the level 6 a 7, the level 10 feature a 9, the expanded spell list a 9 out of 10, as is multiclassing potential. Just generally pretty good all round. So at level 1, we get Dark One's Blessing. When you reduce a creature to 0 hit points, you get temporary hit points, which is equal to your Warlock level plus your Charisma modifier. So 17 here for Will. And this can be a frequent source of temporary hit points. I've only got a few enemies left. Maybe I can kill her, maybe I can't. Let's try it. Alright. There we are. 17 temporary hit points. Now if I lose them and I kill another person, I get another 17 temporary hit points. What I try to do if I can is get a Fiend Warlock to get the killing blow on an enemy, because they actually benefit from it every single time. At level 6, I don't have a skill check ready to show you, but calling your patron to change your fate, add a 1d10 bonus to an ability check. Ah, this is great. I love this. It's once per short rest, so I'd say you can use it fairly frequently. And it's just like a super boosted guidance once every now and again. And compared to at least the Great Old One, this is far, far better. And your Warlock is generally going to probably have a high charisma, so this can really help with any persuasion checks you need to do or difficult conversation dialogue options. Or maybe you're doing something you're not very good at, they've been forced into it, give yourself a 1d10 bonus. See, I really like the level 6 ability here. Then at level 10, Fiends get to choose to be resistant to a type of damage once per short rest. During that battle, Will was resistant to necrotic damage. And every short rest, we can change this. And very interestingly, we can even include slashing, piercing, and bludgeoning damage. So if you know there are a lot of archers coming up, people with daggers, as there are sometimes in Act 3, you can be resilient to piercing damage. If you're coming up against mind flayers, perhaps you want to be resistant to psychic damage. If you're coming up against someone who does lots of fire damage, some devils perhaps, you can be resistant to fire damage. And you get to choose. So when the Great Old One is resistant to psychic damage, it does the damage back that they take from the psychic damage. Well, I'd rather just choose which of these damage types I am resistant to anyway. We can even become resistant to force damage, which is rare. Not many things have resistance to force damage. So I really, really like the Fiend's level 10 ability, in fact. Now, as for the expanded spell list, well, basically what's not to love? Burning Hands, it's okay, it does upcast, but I'd probably switch it out at some point. But Command, this is why the multiclassing potential is quite high. Getting access to Command is very strong. And it means you can combine a Warlock with, say, a Sorcerer, who doesn't necessarily have access to Command, and they're both Charisma casters anyway, then you can cast Command, and Command is such a strong spell. It doesn't require concentration. Yes, it's just one turn, but that can be all that you need. Or you can make an enemy drop their weapon, and some enemies are basically useless once they've dropped their weapon and you've picked it back up. So we start off very strongly. Scorching Ray is very good. It upcasts very well. So we can upcast it to level 5 as a pure Warlock. And then if you've got someone that's held, boom, that person is dead. Blindness, that's okay. Doesn't require concentration. Inflicts the blinded condition, which is a strong debuff. And Fireball, that's great. Classic spell. You want to deal some damage to lots of enemies? Pick Fireball. And you get it upcast when you get to the higher levels. Stinking Cloud, could take it, could leave it. Wall of Fire, another great spell, concentration spell, but does so much damage. It's so good against multiple enemies. Fire Shield, yeah, I don't care about that much. Again, this is one of the ones I could do without. And then at level 9, we get access to 2 spells that, well, can deal lots of damage in an area of effect. Again, nice to have. Overall, I think the Fiend has a pretty strong spell list, expanded spell list. Then as for multiclassing, I've already kind of mentioned it now, but the fact we get this here, access to command, is strong. This is why sometimes some multiclasses have just a single level in Warlock, and often it's a Fiend Warlock. And then we get the added bonus of potentially having some temporary hit points. Unfortunately, you know, it's just a single level in Warlock. We're going to max out our temporary hit points based on our charisma modifier. And if you're going to take 6 levels, this one's good. Dark One's Own Luck. I like that one. I can see myself going up to 6 levels in Warlock potentially. So overall, for me, the Fiend Warlock pulls ahead in almost every aspect. Unfortunately, the Fae kind of falls behind. Great Old One stuck in the middle. And I think most of that comes down to the fact that the level 10 feature and expanded spell list are just that much better than the other 2 subclasses. And the fact that they get command at level 1, it makes it a very strong contender for a good multi-class. Anyway, you let me know what you think. What changes would you make? Do you love Archfey Warlocks? And do you think I've done them dirty? You let me know. Thank you for making it this far, and to all the members of my channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.